Boom, boom. This is Ken, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. All right, we got a little bit of anime review up today. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless, Reincarnation. All right, this is episode 2. So I encourage you to go back and view episode 1. We'll make episode 2 here sound a little bit more understanding and be able to picture some of what occurred. All right, so episode 2 is titled Master, as you can see right here. Now, this is a very good episode here. We finally get to, the way this episode starts out, we finally get a little bit of an idea as to why Rudy was a recluse in his previous life. We also find out what caused this incident. Remember, they said he was a recluse in the last episode, had to pound on floor when they wanted him to bring up food and whatnot, and he would never leave his apartment. So we're like, well, then why was how did he get hit by a truck? Why was he outside if he never left his apartment? So this episode starts out, and it's going to explain that to us. So it looks like, as near as I can tell, he lives atop of a funeral parlor. There's a ceremony taking place down on the bottom floor of the building that he's in. It looks like 2 people have died. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they know these. They're very vague with who they don't tell you who they are, just that they're 2 people. There's an empty seat right there. I'm not sure if that indicates that he was supposed to attend this, that these are his parents or something that passed away, maybe, because the bomb does sort of kind of look like him. Maybe these are his parents and he was supposed to attend the funeral, but as you can see, the seat is empty where he's supposed to be sitting. Okay, so this upsets the whether there's brothers, friends, family maybe, most likely. So anyway, they get some ball bats. I guess they're going to go rough him up, and they barge into the room. He is watching his computer doing something. I'm not going to say what because it's not allowed to be said that. YouTube might run afoul of YouTube censors, but he's doing something. If you watch the episode, they make it very clear what he is actually doing. He manages to pull up his trousers. They burst in. He is, of course, extremely upset. He screams at them and charges them. But there's 3 of them. They have baseball bats and whatnot. This guy takes a look at what he's watching on the computer. Does not like that. He destroys the computer with his baseball bat. They then pick him up, ceremoniously carry him out downstairs, tell him to get out, and then they throw him out of the front door into the rain with no shoes on. So we now understand why he was outside to be soon hit by a truck. Excellent, excellent, excellent way to start the second episode. I explained some of the questions that we had in the first episode as to why he was out there in the first place and why he didn't have any shoes on. So we now know. So anyway, he's walking through the streets. It's wet, rainy. And you remember also in the first episode, there were 3 people also besides him that were involved in the accident. If you remember, there was one of the boys was sitting on the actual ambulance, back of the ambulance with oxygen mask on. He was in shock. The other 2, so one of the boys and the girl were missing. They were searching for them at the time. So we now see them. They're in this, what looks like the center of the road, like a little median in the center. It's rainy and it's wet, and the truck is coming down the road. Rudy sees the truck going out of control, and he tries to save them. So he says, "Watch out!" and he jumps off of the sidewalk where he's at. It looks like he's reaching across. My assumption is just to, he didn't push anybody away. I think what happened was he, watch out. I think he got their attention, so they were maybe able to. I'm sure he saved at least one of them, maybe even some of the other 2, although the other 2 might have been hit. But we know at least that one of them survived. Okay, the roads were wet and slippery. The truck went out of control. He dove to get their attention. They said he got hit by the truck head on, so that's what killed him, and so he was reincarnated into his next life. So this is a flashback exposition, so that's really good that we get to see that. So now we're with Rudy back in his reincarnated form, and he's practicing his magic. He's getting pretty good, as you can see. He's practicing on earth magic right now. He's managed to learn the other elements to some degree of success. So he's getting better. His magic power has grown a lot. It's the same thing. Now, you have to understand that they're treading very, very, very close to the NSFW title here that we're getting. Anyway, Rudy's parents are in the other room doing what his parents, Paul and Zenith, love to do, which is quite frequently, which is have sex. So, and Rudy's in the other room. He can hear him. So he was going to sneak out of his room into the hallway and then burst in on his parents as they are doing it, just to embarrass them. You understand, he's a man in a baby, in a 5-year-old's body, 4-year-old, 3-year-old body. So it would be startling for them and embarrassing for them, and he's just messing with them. But as he steps out in the hallway, he sees Roxy in the hallway. They're right outside the door, and she is, of course, doing what young girls, hormones through their body would do. So and he catches her doing it, and then he steps back into the room quietly. She doesn't know that he saw her, and she's like, "Even I have the heart to pretend I didn't see anything." And the next line he says, "Well, no, I can't. I was awesome to see that." So he was very pleased with that. So they're keeping with that theme, and that, as you can see, so he's very, Roxy's cute, and he's attracted to her, and so as you can see, they're practicing more. He likes her. She's teaching him magic, but he's always, of course, trying to, cop a stare if at all possible. So here he is looking up her skirt while she's teaching him magic. So keeping with the theme. Now we start to learn a little bit about Roxy here. She's a demon. Okay, now at the first part of the thing, when we saw her, we saw that his parents were really surprised. My assumption was they were surprised just because she was a short little girl dressed in a mage's uniform, and that she was so young, and that she would, that they were just surprised that someone like that would actually be a magic teacher. It turns out that was an inaccurate assumption. It's actually the hair color. Apparently only demons have this. They say it's a greenish hue hair. It looks purple to me, so we'll say greenish purple hair. Anyway, any time you see that this type of hair color, it usually indicates that it's a demon. And now, she is a demon. There was a war some time back between the demons and the humans. It was called the Laplace War. Okay. It was against the demons, are called the Superd, so super with a D on the end. And this Laplace War was won by the humans, and the humans expelled all the remaining demons that were killed in the war off of the continent. So they took control of the situation. So that's where we're at in that case. All right. So if you see the hair, emerald green hair, run, because you might get killed. Now, she just told him that, Rudy, that she was a demon. So Rudy used this time to say that he likes her, and it doesn't matter that she's a demon. She's his master, and he likes her. And she's like, well, if you still feel that way, 10 years from now, you can come to her, and she'll be more responsive. And it's really funny because he's expositioning on this, and it's like the fact that he's saying these lines that he got playing dating sims in the other world, and he's using these lines here, and they would be cliched and immediately laughed at in his other world. But here they're actually successful. And they're actually working, so he's really pleased with that. He has a whole repertoire of these phrases and cliched lines ready to go. So it looks like he's going to be a little bit more successful with that here in this world. So, but as we progress through, as you can see, he's got some fire. So here he's throwing a fire and water magic up together, collides them in midair, causing a steam explosion. As you can see, it's producing pretty good force. So we can tell that he has gotten powerful. And he's, as you saw in the last episode, he practices a lot. He built up, he has a huge mana storage, and he notices that he's not running out of mana as well. So he's just excelling at magic, and his mana capacity is overwhelming. Now, while his magic is going well, his swordmanship being taught by his father is not. But you can't really blame him. He's only 5 years old. So it's not like he's going to be able to do much damage. I mean, his father just hewed that boulder in half with his sword. He hits it, and it just bounces off and, shaking in his hand, freaking him out. So, and his father's like, no, 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 that wasn't right. But you can't blame the kid. He's only 5 years old. He does not have the physical capabilities to be taught sword on that level as of yet. But I assume that based on the fact that he's not small, he's not tiny for 5 years old. So I think he's actually not going to be a really small kid when he grows up. So I think he'll be able to, at least to some degree, become better at swordsmanship. We'll have to see what happens in the other episodes. So it's his birthday. Now, that birthdays are, well, before we get to that, let me expose this. We do go to an exposition scene here where we get another flashback. Now, we get a little bit more of the story as to the treatment that he had to endure when he was in the other world. And I'm going to tell you, people, it's brutal. It's brutal, the treatment that he was going through. You will understand why he's a recluse. Okay, I mean, he's just amazingly nasty what was done to him. So he sees these two kids playing in the dirt road down there. There's no cell phones in this world. This is just an hallucination that he has. Okay, it freaks him out. He sees these two kids joyfully playing and smiling, and all of a sudden they stop, look at him, and then they leer at him and pick up their phones. And you're going to see why that is important. So he crouches down behind the brick wall here, and then he starts to have a flashback as to what happened. And here it is, as you can see. He was, apparently some kids stripped him naked. Based on the fact that there are lockers, but I'm assuming it's school. Okay, he looks pretty young in this as well too, and he's naked. They're parading him through the hallway. He's being leered at by the girls and boys from the school, and they're laughing at him, finding it hilarious, and he's embarrassed, out of his gourd. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Roxy walks up while he's down behind the wall, and she begins to talk to him. And she could see that he's, upset about something. So she starts talking to him, and she says that, if you look over those mountains, you can see the mountains. If you look at this image right here, in front of her, mage hat there, you'll see those mountains in the background. Apparently, on the other side of those mountains, if you can get over them, apparently the snow can get up to like waist deep as you're trying to cross over it. Is Renoa. And apparently Renoa, University of Magic, is the best magic school in the world. Okay, so he's like right over the mountains from where he's at. So she's, she's telling him about it, and she understands that she's not going to be able, she understands he's better. Okay, he's better than she is. Yes, she's a teacher, but he's just so far above her in terms of his capability. Chantless, spellcasting and things like that. So she's telling me, go to Renoa. You'll be able to learn more at Renoa and become stronger. And that's what she wants for him. That's his teacher. And now things are a little bit different here in this on this world. They don't celebrate, here we celebrate birthdays on a yearly basis. Every year you have a birthday and a little party to celebrate it. They only do that on the 5th. So 5, 10, and 15 is when they celebrate big parties for you. And at age 15, you're an adult. Okay, so age 15, time to leave. Unlike here, where 18, 21, if you go to college and stuff like that, where you might, continue. But here at 15, you're considered an adult, which is interesting. But as you notice that a world like this, where things, they don't have the finer things in life that we have, you're going to expect to become an adult much faster. So it's really not that odd when you think about it. Now, his father gives him a sword for his birthday. Now, when he hands him the sword, he hands him the sword, and it's like, whoop, it drops to the ground almost to the one side. That's because it's so heavy. So his father says, not right now, but you'll be able to use it soon. So he gives him the sword. His mother, of course, gives him a book. Okay, a magic book. Now, this upsets the father a little bit, because when he gets the book from her, he's like, oh, this is just what I wanted. He's much more happier at getting the book than he was at getting the sword. So father's a little bit peeved by that, but he gets over it. So now, when you pass beginner magic, you get this wand. So he should have already had this, but Roxy, when Roxy came, he was already on intermediate magic, so he never actually did the beginner test to pass, to go to intermediate. So he didn't get it, but she gave it to him for his birthday now, since he should have it. And it's got this little gem in it, and the gem it helps to amplify your magic power. So that's what Roxy gives him that. for his birthday. So, and she tells him that they're going to hold the grad. There's nothing more I can teach you. We're going to hold your graduation exam tomorrow to see what you've learned and see whether or not it's time for time for them to separate and time for her to go her way, because she's taught him everything she can. He's already stronger than she is, and so tomorrow they're going to have to go take the test, and he finds out that they're going to have to leave the area. They're going to be doing some large scale magic for the test, so they can't do it at the house, or you can't even do it near the village, simply because of the fact that it's going to be wide range magic, and it could damage people, it could hurt people, damage property, so they need to go away. This, of course, is not good because he's never left the house. He's barely been out in the front yard, and then realizing he's going to have to leave. We now get the final expedition backstory here that we were looking for, which finally clinches it. Not only did they assault this guy, remove his clothes, parade him through the hallway naked, having people take pictures of him and staring at him and laughing at him, they tied him to a fence naked. I mean, come on. Can't blame him in the slightest. I mean, this is brutal treatment. This is criminal treatment right here. So that's why he's a recluse. That's why he does not leave his house. He's scared to go out. And you can't blame him. The trauma that this would cause would be immense. I am completely understandable why he's scared to leave the house. There's absolutely nothing that would lead me to believe that this was false. The trauma that this would cause would be real. So we now know exactly what happened, and we understand why he's traumatized. And it's just, I'm too scared to take. So his father's trying to get him to, because they got to leave to go for the test, as I said. So his father, he reaches out to put him up on the horse. Well, he runs from his father and hides behind his mom to protect him because he didn't want to go. Well, Roxy doesn't realize this. Roxy thinks, oh, so you're just scared of the horse. And she sneaks up behind him, picks him up, and puts him on the horse. And she then climbs up behind him and wraps her arms around him so he can't get off. So he's like, whether he likes it or not, he's leaving. So she's unintentionally working to, get him back. And she does. He says, I'm with you. There's nothing to be afraid of. So he just puts his head down and shuts his eyes. And they're walking, and they've been walking for a minute or two, and he's not hearing any jeers. Doesn't seem to be anything happening that would, there's no yelling, screaming, jeering. And he's like opening his eyes, and it's like there's nothing around. It's just, and he's finally beginning to realize, wait a minute, I'm not on that world. I'm in this world. This is different. This is a quiet village out in the boonies. I'm not on Earth now. I'm on another planet. And I don't need to be afraid. And he's beginning to realize this, and he's beginning to overcome his trauma. So she's helped him overcome his fear of the outside, or the world outside. So he gets now as they're walking down the road, from the opposite direction, they're approached by a guy. So this is the first time he's actually encountered somebody else outside. So he's like got his head down, and he's like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And nothing happens. The guy just says, hi, Roxy, and just keeps right on going. And then he's like, it's not me. They don't know, what happened in the other worlds. These people are nice. It's a nice village, quiet village. So he realizes finally that it's not me. I don't have to worry about this. I can finally focus on living. So this is a big step towards beginning him to get over his trauma. And as you can see, he says, no, I'm fine now. So he begins to relax. So they get to the field. So basically, the test is a sacred level water magic skill that they have to cast. He needs to watch closely, memorize it, and cast it. And if he does that, he passes the test. So the spell is called Cumulonimbus. Roxy winds up and casts it. Now, as you can see, when she casts it, it's basically just creating a big storm. You summon cumulonimbus storm clouds, and then there's wind, rain, and a lightning strike. Well, this lightning strike, they had rode over on the horse, as you saw, Cavalaggio, I believe is his name, and they tied the horse to the tree. Well, unfortunately, this lightning strike, you guessed it, it actually hit the tree, which is where the horse was. So, as you can see the marks on the tree there, the red marks. So it hit the tree and basically almost killed the horse. But she, don't worry, she has healing magic. So she runs over and heals him. He's still looking a little shaky after the event, the next clip they show, but he's back up on his feet at least. So now she tells him it's time for him to cast it. Okay, so he winds up, begins to cast it. She protects the horse. So she cocoons herself and the horse inside of this like wood, shield that she forms up, and she leaves a slit open so she can see out. And she's like amazed at how powerful the storm he is that's whipping up. Wind is howling, lightning striking, the storm, a massive storm on a massive scale that he's controlling. And then he successfully completes the scale, and then she tells him, I didn't tell you to make it bigger than my demonstration as it was. His was much more wide area and much more damage. Forcefulness of the wind and rain, it was apparent that his was much more powerful. And that's all it takes. She said, they're now a sacred level water mage. There's nothing more she can teach him. My assumption is that she's a water. I think she only has the qualifications to teach him sacred level water magic. My assumption is he's going to have to go to Renoa to learn, the earth, the fire, to become, adept at using those magics. He's going to need to go where they're masters for that at, which is why she's saying that he should go to Renoa. She realizes that he knows all of them. He can do all those magics, and he's going to be able to excel at all of them, and she can't teach him that. But the masters at Renoa, since it's the best magic school in the world, would of course have the capability to do that, which is why she's telling him to go to Renoa. And my assumption is in the future episodes he will most likely end up in Renoa. So it's time for her to leave. So of course everybody's upset with this. Most importantly, Rudy's parents are, of course, because they liked Roxy. They had fun with her being there, staying with them. So they're upset that she had to leave, but there's nothing more she can teach him. He's maxed out what she can do for him. For him to get stronger and become a better mage, he's going to have to get a better teacher. Even though, Rudy still thinks of her as his master, she's just not that level. So it's time for her to leave, and it's time for him to, go to Renoa. So it's, it seems I lack the ability to guide you. She's, she's forthright. So she does leave. Rudy does run after her a little bit. And thanks her very much for helping him. So he does step away from the house by himself a little bit there as she's leaving. And he takes a look at the medallion that she gave him, that medallion as a graduation print, a little charm there, as you can see in his hands, a little green necklace. It was trauma that he was carrying, and she cured him of that unintentionally, but she did cure him of that trauma. So he says he's going to respect her, that little girl. I respect that little girl. And then, of course, but he actually had stolen a pair of Roxy's panties a few months ago. And this is how the episode ends. As you can see, where Lily's like looking at him. You remember the first episode? He put women's underwear on his head and was leering at her under the table, and she knew something was up with him. The maid did. She knew something was a little bit off with this youngster. She doesn't, of course, realize that he's a man in a child's body, but she understands that he's different, and so he stole a pair of Roxy's panties. So that's how the episode ends, with him, saying that he's going to respect that little girl, only to, realize that he, of course, stolen a pair of her underwear a few years ago. So that's how it does end. So it was an excellent episode. So yeah, very good episode. They filled in the blanks for us. We now understand why he was a recluse. Fully understand the trauma that was heaped upon him, apparently from school. with the lockers in the background, and based on the fact that he's, um, it has to be, it happened at school. You know, stripped him of his clothes, walked paraded him through the school naked, people leering at him, taking pictures, tied him to a fence. I mean that's just brutal. Anybody would become a recluse after that. So we now have that question answered. We understand it, and we've now seen that he's beginning to overcome that trauma and venture out, so he can try to make what he said at the end of the first episode, how he's going to do his life over and make serious attempt at having a life, and he's doing that right now. So I have a feeling we're going to see him going to Renoa here in a few episodes. So yeah, anxiously awaiting the next episode of this. But yeah, so I hope you, if you haven't watch the first episode, second episode. It's great anime. This is an excellent, top rate anime. I mean, I've watched a lot of the isekai animes, Wasmi Grandson, Ephrata, but this one here is a little bit more in depth. We're getting to see from a baby, like for instance, the Shield Hero, Rise of the Shield Hero. He was summoned. He did not reincarnate. He was summoned to that world, so he was already like 15 or 16 years old. Ephrata was the same. He was, he was summoned to the world. He became a mage, but we really didn't see any exposition as to what he had to go through from the beginning. Learning how to read, practicing his magic every single day, all the time, to become as strong as he is right now. So that's what we're getting to see this. So this is a lot of those isekai animes. They're based on this from the web novel. So it's really good anime. So I would definitely suggest picking it up. I guess Mushoku Tensei, excellent anime. And this is the end of episode 2. All right, so subscribe to my channel. If you like this, go ahead and click on like, and you can share the video. I'd also appreciate any response you have in the comments section. I'm still getting this video editing and recording stuff down here along with the script and whatnot. So pardon me as I try to make myself a little bit better at this. But I do love this anime, and I'm going to continue to review it. All right. So again, thanks a lot for watching. This is Kenrir. I'm coming at you from the corner, signing out.